Hi, everybody. Welcome back for tutoring session 14. Last time in session 13, we addressed metric conversions. Metric is easy because it's all powers of 10. We can just place value shift. Today, we're going to work on customary conversions. It's the same idea, but no longer can we place value shift. We're going to actually have to do the multiplication or division that goes with each problem. Just like last time, this will be helpful if you have your metric conversions chart in front of you, but if you don't, you can use the one on the video. Let's grab our paper and pencil and get ready to get started. Here we see our customary conversions. When we look at our chart, all the customary conversions are on the left side. The metric, that's what we used last time, is all powers of 10s, just ones and zeros. The customary side isn't like that. It can make it a little bit more tricky, but the process stays the same. So when I look at my first problem, 5 miles is how many yards? I'm looking on my conversion chart to see where miles and yards are. And right here is miles and yards together on the same line. So let's go back to the problem and do 5 miles equals how many yards? Now, do you remember from the problem how many miles went with how many yards? Let's look again. We see 1 mile goes with 1,760 yards. So let's quick write that down before we forget. We've got 1 mile equals 1,760 yards. Remember again that we have miles under miles and yards under yards. So when I'm looking, my arrow always goes the direction that I read. So from 1 to 1,000, am I getting bigger or smaller? I'm getting bigger. That means I'm going to multiply. And you remember that we don't ever use the 1. So we're going to set up this problem as 1,760 yards times 5. And we're just going to multiply. 5 times 0 is 0. 5 times 6 is 30. So there's my 0. Regroup that 3. 5 times 7 is 35. Plus 3 more is 38. Regroup that 3. 5 times 1 is 5. Plus 3 is 8. So my final answer there is 8,800 yards, is the same thing as 5 miles. Let's look at our next problem. 36 cups equals how many quarts? Let's look at our conversions. We're looking for cups and quarts together on the same line. I don't see cups and quarts on the same line. I see cups on here and I see quarts here. When that happens, it means we have to do a double conversion. I'm going from 1 quart, and I need to get down to cups. Is 1 quart the same thing as 2 cups? It is not. 1 pint is the same thing as 2 cups. 2 pints is the same thing as 1 quart. So to figure out how many cups are in a quart, we have to multiply these two numbers. 1 quart is the same thing as 4 cups. 1 quart is 4 cups. I had to multiply these numbers. So let's go back to our problem. And now we know what goes under cups. Do you remember? It's 4 cups equals 1 quart. So when I think about that, going from 4 to 1, am I getting smaller or larger? 4 to 1, I'm getting smaller. That means I have to divide when I get smaller. Remember that we don't ever use the 1. So our division problem is 36 divided by 4. This one's not that hard. If we know our multiplication facts for 4s, we know that 4 times 9 is 36. So our fact family here is 36 divided by 4 equals 9. 36 cups is the same as 9 quarts. Okay, let's look at our next problem. We've got inches to feet. Some of you may know this one, but let's go ahead and look at the conversion anyway. Where do you see inches and feet together on the same line? Foot, that's singular for feet, and inches. Here they are on the same line. 1 foot equals 12 inches. So when I write that down, I want to make sure I put inches under inches. Number 12 went with inches, and feet under feet under feet. Remember, 1 goes with foot. So I have to think about this. I'm going from 12 down to 1. I'm getting smaller. Smaller means I am going to divide. And I remember that I don't ever use the 1. So my problem is 53 is being divided by 12. How many times does 12 go into 5? 12 goes into 5 0 times. How many times does 12 go into 53? I know 12 times 4 is 48. 12 times 5 is 60. That's too big, so I'm going to put a 4 on the top. Then I multiply. 4 times 12 is 48. 53 minus 48 is 5. Now, what do I do with that answer? Let's look carefully. We're asking how many feet this is. So it's 4 feet, but then we have a remainder. That's a remainder of 5 what? Since we were dividing 53 inches, these are 5 inches that are left over. So 53 inches is the same thing as 4 feet and 5 inches. That's what the remainder means. So sometimes we need that remainder because it doesn't come out evenly. 53 inches is 4 feet, 5 inches. Let's look at our last problem. We have LB, that stands for pounds, and OZ, that stands for ounces. Where do we see pounds and ounces on the same line? I see pounds up here and ounces down here. And this ounces is with pounds, so we do have them on the same line. 1 pound is 16 ounces. So let's write that conversion down before we forget it. We've got 1 with the pound, and we've got 16 with the ounces. And now as we look at this, we're going from 1 to 16, we are getting bigger, and bigger means we multiply. We remember that we don't ever use the 1, which means what we're multiplying is 2 and 5/10 times 16. And we can ignore that decimal for right now and just multiply. 6 times 5 is 30. I'll put down my 0 and regroup my 3. 6 times 2 is 12, plus 3 more is 15. And now I am done with that 6 in the 1's place. I can cross it out, and I can place value shift. Now I'm going to use this one. 1 times 5 is 5, and 1 times 2 is 2. I can add up my partial products. 0 plus 0, 5 plus 5, 1 plus 1 plus 2. And then we have to remember to put our decimal in. 2 and 5/10 is about 3. 16 is about 20. 3 times 20 is about 60. Where I'm going to put the decimal there to get to about 60. This is as close as I can get it. So 2 and 5/10 pounds is the same thing as 40 ounces. Now it's your turn to do some more problems all by yourself. So let's go to this page and do these 5 problems. Remember, if you need to, you can rewind the video so you can see the reference material. Once you have these 5 problems done, please bring them to me in class on our next school day. I can't wait to check them. Thanks for joining me for this tutoring session.